from the Dudaei Reuven. The Dudaei Reuven tells us, a brief lesson from the Dudaei Reuven. The Dudaei Reuven asks the question, famous question, Rashi asks again at the beginning of the portion, why is it that it says the children of Israel, they came down, the parsha begins, Ve'ela Shemot b'nei Yisrael b'nei Mitzrayim. These are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. Yaakov ishu beso bao, Jacob and his household came. Vayikol nefesh yotzei yarach Yaakov shivim nefesh. And all those who came from Jacob's loins who came into Egypt, there were 70 of them. Yosef hayah b'Mitzrayim, and Joseph was in Egypt. And the Dudaei Reuven asks, and really Rashi, it was Rashi's question, why does the Torah have to count all these names again? We just counted them at the end of Vayigash. Why does Rashi have to count them a second time? And what does it mean, Jacob, each in his household? We know that Jacob came with the members of his household. We know Joseph was in Egypt. What's the point of this? Also in this context, there was a Gemara in Nedarim, and we had a share about this on Thursday night. The Gemara says, why is it that the children of Israel were punished? What did Abraham do wrong? The children of Israel were punished with servitude in Egypt for 210 years. And one of the answers was that Abraham challenged God's attributes when he said, how I know that I will inherit the land. And so why was that a sin? Why was that a sin? That's what the Talmud in Tractate Nedarim says, and the question is, why was that a sin? So the Dudaei Reuven has a very, very, very long essay about this, one of his longest essays, and he said he gave this during the revolution. He writes that he gave this during the revolution of 1908. That's what he says. He gave this as a speech in 1908 in Russia. So that's what he writes. He gave it during the Russian Revolution. So in that context, this is what he writes. So I want to just share briefly his answer. I'm not doing justice to it because it's a very long essay. But he writes that when it says that the Torah, when it says that he went down with 70 souls, that they were all descendants of Jacob, is a very important point here. What's his point? His point is that all those 70 souls were all at one with Jacob. They were all of the same mindset of Jacob, that they were all walking together. And that's why, and Joseph too was in Egypt. Joseph was of the same mindset. And that's the whole point, that's why the Jewish people were able to survive in Egypt. What's the reason why they were able to survive in Egypt? Why were the Israelites able to survive in Egypt? Because they were all connected to the path of Hashem. Those who were connected to the Torah, those are the ones who were able to survive. Many of them disappeared, but the ones who were connected to the Torah, that aroused the ire of the Egyptians, and that also aroused the Israelites to survive. And the Dudaei Reuven, and this is a tremendous chiddush. This is something very special that he says. He says that when Avram Avinu says, with what will I know that I will inherit the land? And about this, the Talmud says that his descendants were sentenced to 210 years in Egypt and servitude. It seems unfair. This is such a minor sin, and they're punished so harshly. And so he says, really, we misunderstand the whole thing. That wasn't a punishment. That Avram Avinu was not asking, with what will I know that I will inherit the land? He was asking the following. He was asking, how do I know that my children, my descendants, will still be connected to the faith after they're going to be in Egypt for so many years? Meaning to say, how do I know they will not stray and they will not be lost and will not just become another nation that's lost in history? And God responded to this, no, I'll tell you how you'll know. You will be a stranger and they will afflict you. And then you will go forth, Berachush Gadol, you will go forth with a mighty miracle. That miracle of the Exodus from Egypt will be what connects you for many years. That will be what allows your descendants to have the faith. And the way you leave Egypt will be what gives you your descendants the faith to know that they are connected to Hashem and